Welcome to MTG Friends. I'm Ryan. We're going to do a Commander deck tech. I've been wanting to do this one for a while. It's Beledros Witherbloom, Legendary Creature Elder Dragon. Most of this build is about some sack mechanics, you know, with the Grave Pact, Dictative Erebos stuff going on. Let's check it out. And as usual, thanks for being a subscriber and all that jazz. Subscribe if you're not already. What? All right, so packages. We got some pests. This section actually was more robust in the beginning, and then when I started parsing this down, it actually ended up with just a few of those. Doubling season type stuff. Protection, just a couple pieces in there. A whole lot of ramp because we got some big creatures we want to tease out. Fair amount of draw and just a little bit of graveyard action, and then a good amount of removal. And like I said, we got a little bit of sack stuff going on. Oh, I guess we got more packages. They just keep coming. Couple shenanigan pieces, life gain, and some tutors. Whew, man, that's a lot of packages. So many packages. All right, so let's start with the doubling season effect sizzle. All right, this is things that create tokens or give +1s, but mostly tokens. Avenger of Zendikar, I mean, solid in green. When it enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. And when a land hits the battlefield, each of those gets a +1/+1 counter on it. This is not a landfall deck, but Avenger of Zendikar goes swimmingly with any kind of doubling season effect. Chatterfang Squirrel General, just think this is a great card. For whatever reason, it's got Forest Rock, which is hilarious. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus that many 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens are created instead. So you get extra squirrels. Plus, if you're doubling season, this thing just starts getting out of hand. You do have this added bonus of, for one black sack X squirrels, target creature gets -X/-X. So you got a mutilate effect, a Toxis deluge effect, that kind of thing, of which we're running neither of those in this deck, or in this build. Doubling season, as we said, I just gotta say, I just love the original version. This is the version I like. Right there. I don't know why, I just do. If an effect would put one or more tokens into play, it does twice that many. If an effect would put +1 counters or counters on your permanents, remember it's your permanents, doubles that up, yo. Thus doubling season. Mazaric Crawl Death Priest for 5 flying. Whenever player sacrifices another permanent, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Each creature. So like I said, we're gonna have some sack mechanics in here. We're not running stuff like Sheoldred or anything, but the stuff you'd expect. You'll see. Parallel Lives. This card could be swapped out for something else, because we're not creating 1/1 counters with Parallel Lives. We're only creating twice as many tokens, but we have a lot of tokens in this build, so if you have it, you might run it anyways. If you don't, you could easily swap it out for some of the stuff we have in the maybe board. Whew, that was a really overextended explanation. Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. Doubling season built into a creature, at least part of it. This is all about counters. Doubles up the counters, or if an opponent would put a counter on it, puts half that many. So if they were going to put a counter on it, they put 0 instead. Woohoo! Love this card. Love Vorinclex. Vorinclex is great. Got a promo card for winning draft one night. Very spicy indeed. All right, Willowdusk Essence Seer. This one, you know, it could be pulled out if you are not thinking it's super jazzy. I think it is, though. For 1 tap, choose another target creature, put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of life you gained this turn, or the amount of life you lost this turn. Hopefully it's about the life you gained. Whichever is greater. Activate only as a sorcery. Now, we do have a bunch of life gain in here. So that's why we're leaving Willowdusk in this particular build. I believe this originated in the Commander Precon deck for Strixhaven, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. Dockside Chief. This one is fabulous. Adam Neon Dynasty. For 2, you sacrifice an artifact or a creature. In theory, we're going to have a lot of token creatures, so we can sack them, draw a card. I just think this is a great card that's super cheap to draw off of. And it only costs 1. Wow. Only costs 1. All right, we got some draw, which is probably why Dockside Chief. Yep, we're in draw. Night's Whisper. You draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. For 2. Plum for the Forbidden. I put this in here because of the sack mechanics. As an addition, cost to cast a spell, you may sacrifice 1 or more creatures. When you do, copy the spell for each creature sacrificed this way. You draw a card and lose a life. We got life gain going on, so losing life isn't that big a deal. Draw. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I chose to run stuff like those cards and read the bones, scry 2, then draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life, instead of running like, say, Harmonize in green for 4. Because for 2 and for 3 we can get some cards, yo. We can get some cards. Skull Clamp. Need I say more? Skull Clamp's in here because we got 1/1 token creatures. Equipped creature gets +1/-1. Whenever equipped creature is put into a graveyard, draw 2 cards. Equip 1. Sylvan Library. Of course we're running Sylvan Library in green. Are you silly? Are you silly that we wouldn't be? Each draw step, we draw 3. We can pay 4 per extra additional card, so a total of 8 life if we so desire, but we get to sift through our deck. I mean, at this point, you don't need me to explain what Sylvan Library is, do you? Do you? I mean, do you? It's in like every green build we do, yo. And if you're new to the channel, well then, maybe you don't know. Villas Broker of Blood. 5 black, 8/8 flying. Pay 1 black, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1 until end of turn. But more importantly, whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. So be careful with this card. It can get out of control if somebody tries to mill you with making you lose life and this and that and the other thing. Or yeah. Anyways, moving on up. Well of Lost Dreams for 4. Whenever you gain life, you may pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained. If you do draw X cards, I mean, life gain deck should have Well of Lost Dreams in it. It just really should. All right, we got a little bit of graveyard action. Animate Dead. In simple terms, go grab a creature. It gets -1 power, and that's out of any graveyard, not just your own. Reanimate, same thing, same idea for 2. Put a creature onto the battlefield from any graveyard. You lose life equal to its mana value. We're in life gain. I know I'm beating a dead horse. We're in life gain. So that should not be a problemo. Vine Witch Coven. I actually stumbled across this card from something. I think from the pre-con that I was looking at. Vine Witch Coven for 3. Whenever you gain life, you may pay black. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Boom. Boom, boom, shalaka. Land package. All right, we're going to blast through this as quickly as we can. We're in Golgari colors, so you're going to see all the dual lands you would expect. I didn't put in Bayou in here. Of course, if you have one, run it. The original dual land. All right, Boseiju, love this because it can come in untapped. You can channel it for 2 to destroy an artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land. And in Commander, that destroying a non-basic land can really help out. They get a basic land for their troubles. Cabal Coffers is in here because we're also running Urberg, so in theory all of our lands will be swamps as well. We're also running the green iteration of that, which you'll see in a moment, making all of ours forests as well. There you go. Add black for each swamp you control. Command Tower, yes. The pathway in our colors. Deathcap Glade comes in untapped if we have two or more other lands. Fabled Passage comes in untapped if it's the 4th or more land. You crack it for fetching a basic land. We got 6 Forest. High Mark is in here, so if we need to sack a creature and gain a life, because we have sack mechanic, like I said before. Pain Land for our Golgari colors. Nurturing Peatland, another Pain Land, and you can also sack it to draw a card for 1. Overgrown Tomb, so cool. Infinity is so cool. Shockland in our colors comes in untapped for 2 damage. Phyrexian Tower for the sack mechanics again. Sack a creature, add 2 black to your mana pool. There's a good chance we're going to have extra cards. Reliquary Towers in there. Rogue's Passage to make a creature unblockable for 4. Some swamp action. Tainted Woods. You can add if you have a swamp as well. Very likely that's going to be. Undergrowth Stadium in case you have 2 or more opponents, which is likely. If you tend to play 1v1, obviously you would not run this. Urborg Stadium. Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, making all of our swamps, all of our lands swamps, including our opponents as well. Verdant Catacombs to go fetch a forest or swamp for 1 damage. Westvale Abbey. This is in here specifically because we are likely going to have token creatures that we can sack. We need to sack 5 and tap it to transform it into a beastly 9/7 hasting, life-linking, ridiculous creature. Just so awesome. Westvale Abbey is so bueno. All right, Witch's Clinic. This is in here. It's actually in the pre-con as well. That Strixhaven Golgari pre-con. For 2, tap. Target commander gains lifelink until end of turn. This can really help out in a pinch. Yavimaya to make all of our lands force as well as opponents. All right, we are in life gain, folks. We are in life gain. Alhamaret's Archive. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. We like that. If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. That second one, yeah, cool, but we mainly have it in there for the life gain stuff. Second part is a bonus. Bastion of Remembrance. So let's get into the I gain a life, you lose a life. I gain a life, you lose a life. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. That gets the horns, yo. And not that this is all that relevant, but when it hits the battlefield, it ETBs by creating a 1/1 human soldier creature token, yo. Blood Artist. Of course, Blood Artist is in here. Whenever another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Essence Warden. Whenever creature enters, you gain a life. Yeah, man. Sanguine Bond. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Now, the reverse of this, we did not put in here. Whenever they lose life, they gain life, or the opposite. What is the opposite? What is the opposite of Sanguine Life? It's in the maybe board. I almost made the cut. It is I'm forgetting off the top of my head. Boy, probably don't even really need to. Is Sanguinate Blood? Yeah. Oh, Exquisite Blood. That's right. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So I purposely didn't leave this in this build because we're more concerned about gaining the life and then them losing the life. You got me? You feel me? You feel me? All right, cool. Let's go find the part we were doing. Oh, totally got sidetracked there, yo. Yeah, because this one is whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Yeah, buddy. All right, here we go. Where's the next part? There we go. Boop. All right, Venser's Journal. You have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life for each card in your hand. This card can be swapped. You can totally, this is not an essential card in this build. You can easily get rid of this. It is a 5-drop. I like the no maximum hand size, and I love the fact that if you're just passively holding 4 cards, you gain 4 life. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome, yo. But like I said, you could swap that out if there's something super spicy you want to put in instead. Whenever, all right, Cutthroat. Same thing as Artist. Whenever Cutthroat or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Yep. All right, we got a little pest action to pest control. Blex, Vexing Pest, other pests, bats, insects, snakes, and spiders you control get +1. When Blex dies, you gain 1 life. Not more importantly, but the flip side of that, which I will show you right meow. Right meow, yo. Right meow. I don't know why you can't look at this when you zoom in. But you can also, instead, as sorcery, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put any number of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard, and you lose 3 life for each card. That one's just as cool, the flip side. So there you have it, folks. That's why Blex is in there. Otherwise, it's kind of a garbage card. Blight Mound. Here, let's look at the big version. Tagging pests you control, get +1/+0 and have menace. Whenever non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token, which with the Saga game, I'm like, yeah. Yay! Let's move on. Nuisance engine. I had it in the deck, then I removed it, then I put it back in because I don't know. Pests. I think it's hilarious, and it synergizes. It synergizes in this deck. Nuisance engine for 3. For 2, you can tap it, put a 0/1 colors pest artifact creature token on the battlefield. I think this is an hilarious card. It's like a 3-cent card. But yeah, you gotta run this just out of spite, because we want pests, man. We want some pests in here. But as you can tell by the seriousness of the tone of my voice, you could easily swap that card out for something like a Sheldred or something. Sedgemoor Witch for 3. It's got Menace, Ward, pay 3 life, so your opponent would have to pay 3 life in order to whack-a-mole it, which is fine. This is not a super spicy card. Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, which we have some, create a 1/1 black and green pest with, when it dies, gain 1 life. So, Sedgemoor Witch, on some level, it feels like I'm shoehorning this card in here, but actually, it's a decent 3-drop. And the pest action is what I wanted. So there you have it. Valentin, Dean of the Vein, Menace, Lifelink. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exiled instead, which is kind of humorous. Doesn't help with our reanimate spells. And when you do, you may pay 2 if you do create a pest. When this creature dies, you gain 1 life. This also has a flip side, which is actually really awesome. Which actually I like more than that, which is whenever you gain life, you can pay 1 if you do put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, and those creatures gain trample as well. I mean, for a 4-drop creature that instantly makes cool stuff happen, I mean, this doesn't require a tap or anything. That's why this card made the cut. Not so much for the Valentin part, it's the other flip side, the Dean of Roots. Okay. Talk about some over-explanation, yo. And some huge staples in protection. Heroic Intervention. All of our stuff gets permanents you control, gain hexproof, and indestructible to end of turn. And I wanted to keep our commander and a couple of the other beefy creatures alive as long as possible. So we have Lightning Greaves in here, which gains haste and shroud. And we also put Swiftfoot Boots in here, hexproof and haste. And equips for 1. The other one equips for 0, as you probably already know. All right, ramp is pretty self-explanatory. We went mostly for mana rocks, not mana dorks. Arcane Signet. Black Market, whenever a creature dies, this thing gets a counter on it. And at the beginning of your pre-common main phase, add black for each charge counter on Black Market. This thing does huge heavy lifting mid-game. It is fabulous when you have creatures dying all over the place. Cultivate, we all know what Cultivate does, right? Search your library, 2 cards, put 1 in tap, put 1 in your hand. All right, just as I said, I didn't do many mana dorks. I promise. Elves of the Deep, taps for black, and damages 1. Leyline Prowler, Death Touch, Lifelink, add 1 mana of any color. Love that it has the Lifelink, that's so great. Old Gnawbone, just wanted to put it in because this thing is badass. Badassery going on. Flying, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. The worst thing that can happen to you is if somebody steals this thing from you, like a red spell or a blue spell, so thus the Swiftfoot Boot type stuff to try to keep that kind of crapola from happening to you. And it will happen, folks. Oracle of Muldiah, you can play an additional land on each of your turns. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play lands from the top of your library. Don't make this mistake I've made multiple times and play a land out of hand, not thinking, and then suddenly you've drawn and you see a land on top and you're like, oh man, swiper, no swiping, oh man. What? If anybody knows what I'm referencing, put it in the comments. Pitiless Plunderer. Whenever another creature you control dies, which is going to happen a lot, create a token that we can sack for mana. Sky Shroud's Claim for 4. Go grab 2 forest, put them into the battlefield untapped. Soul Ring, because we're in Golgari 2 colors, you could actually swap Soul Ring out if you wanted to. It is not essential. However, our commander is what, a 7-drop? 8-drop? 7-drop, I think. Talisman of our colors pings it for 1. 3 visits for 2 to go grab a forest. Put it on the battlefield untapped. Alright, we got some removal. Abrupt Decay and Golgari can't be countered. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. This can really help out in a pinch, especially if you got something sinister going on the board and you just can't quite get rid of it. Damnation, if we need to go tutor reset button, that's why Damnation is in here. Death Sprout's in here because destroys target creature and then you get a basic land as well. Put on the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Feed the Swarm in black because it destroys a creature or an enchantment. Don't forget it destroys an enchantment part. That can really help out. Although in my play groups, it seems like it's more artifact heavy than enchantment. But you know what? Every play group's different. And I have multiple play groups, yo. Mortality Spear costs 2 less if you gain life this turn. Most likely, we're going to be gaining life. Gaining life. Destroy target non-land permanent. Noxious Gear Hulk for 6 menace. When it enters the battlefield, you can destroy another target creature. If a creature is destroyed this way, gain life equal to its toughness. Life gain, yo. Oblivion Stone. I put this in here so that if we needed to tutor it up and have a hardcore reset button with artifacts included and all stuff, we can put this on the play field. For 4 tap, put a fade counter on target permanent. Ours, of course. And for 5 tap, sacrifice Oblivion Stone, destroy each non-land permanent without a fate counter on it. Then remove all fate counters from all permanents. Boom, boom, shalaka. I really like Oblivion Stone. It doesn't take much for it to get going. For 3 and then an additional 5, you can wipe the board of all of the shenanigans going on. Pretty groovy-licious. Of course, it destroys, not exiles, so that is a thing. That is a thing to consider. Pest Infestation. XX green. Destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments. Create twice X, 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens. That sack for 1 life. Or died for 1 life. Ashnod's Altar for that extra sackalicious fun. Add colors to your mana pool. Alright, sackalicious. Dictate of Erebus. Graveyard, Grave Pact in the flash form. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Grave Pact, the OG. Whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. Love that it's when it dies. So my creature dies, then your creature dies, yo. That's right. Priest of Forgotten Gods. Not a spectacularly spicy card, but it gets the job done. Tap, sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You add black, and draw a card. So, yeah, so we sack 2 pests or 2 token creatures or whatever, and then suddenly people are sacking, and you're getting mana, and you're drawing a card. I mean, 2 thumbs up, man. 2 thumbs up. All right, Terragrid, God of Fright. This works against our 2 reanimation spells we have in here, but that's okay. Whenever an opponent sacrifices non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard on the battlefield under your control. It does have the may attached to it. And since we have some sack crap going on, this is bueno. Bueno, folks. We don't really care about the flip side of this. Witch of the Moors. If you gain life, each opponent sacrifices a creature, and you return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So that last part is just like an extra added bonus. Bonus indeed. Yawgmoth. We know what Yawgmoth does, right? Don't forget that it does have protection from humans. Sometimes it's easy to forget that. Pay a life, sack a creature, put a -1 counter on up to 1 target creature, and draw a card. You can discard and proliferate for 2, which that's not really why it's in this deck, but it's versatile, folks. Aether Flux, Reservoir, and Alt Win condition. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. Pay 50 life, deal 50 damage to target creature or player. So you can whack-a-mole an opponent for 50 life. Most likely, unless we've been getting whittled down in life because we're battling all 3 of our opponents, or 4 or 2 or whatever, you're most likely going to be able to whack-a-mole somebody if they don't whack your artifact the reservoir first. Torment of Hailfire to dump a bunch of mana into if we got it. We can sack Ashnod's Altar creatures. We can create all sorts of extra X mana. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices an online permanent or discards a card. Boom, boom, boom. You're going to see them start getting rid of their board state and all sorts of craziness. All right, all of the tutors you expect. Demonic Tutor, go grab a card in your library for 2, put it in your hand. Dig Up, not one you were probably expecting in Golgari. You can cleave, which means you can pay 4 instead of the 1. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Or for 1, we can go grab a basic land. So if you got it in your opening hand and you're questioning whether or not to keep it because of your lands in your hand, this one will help you immensely. Or it's just a nice, cool tutor for 4. Razaketh the Foul-Blooded. Wow, that's a really cool version. I like that version. Let's look at the other version, though. The one I'm used to. Flying Trample, pay 2 life, sack another creature, search your library for a card, and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. It does it all, folks. It is a 7, 8 drop, though. Whew, 8 drop. Vampiric Tutor, search your library, pay 2 life, put on top of your library. And then there is the maybe board, which we're not going to go through. All right. So if you want, you can go check out the maybe board for swaps and stuff. Check it out on Architect. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Beledros Witherbloom. This is going to be lots of fun for you. It's got a lot of interesting stuff, interesting board state interactions. I think you're going to enjoy this one. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Laters. MTG Friends, yo.